Ladies and gentlemen, SideStrafe back with the Strafing Run. And yes, it has indeed been a while since I've created one of these episodes. And for those of you perhaps new to the channel, this used to be my way of providing subscribers with a weekly content update. What's going on with me, the channel, what games I'm playing, general thoughts, criticisms, ranting, raving, tomfoolery, shenanigans, all of the above. This is the heart and soul of the Strafing Run, and I stopped working on episodes because I kind of wanted to change up the format, but I think simplicity is best, and obviously there's been a lapse in content on the channel, as I'm sure many of you have noticed. For the most part, it comes down to scheduling issues and things that I've got going on in reality, but mostly I think it's because I'm not too happy with the general direction of the channel because it's just too similar to a lot of other channels, and I don't do this to be like everybody else. I don't have the same, goals as most do, which is just generally to seek fame and fortune, or to perhaps play video games for a living and just have an easy life. That's not really why I started this channel, and I think I need to go back to my roots and start providing you with a little bit more variety. And of course I'm saying that as you're watching World of Warships content, but it's going to eventually switch into some Metal Gear Solid and some Mad Max, and future episodes will of course just cover whatever I'm playing. But really the Strafing Run, I think, needs to go back to being the heart and soul of the channel. Something that's maybe not only, once a week, but maybe every couple of days, or whenever the frack I feel like releasing an episode, just because I have things that I want to talk about. And I think the reason to come to the SideStrafe channel maybe should be more show-style content, such as, of course, here, the Strafing Run. I think that just creating Let's Play style videos is not really my thing. I can obviously do a live commentary gameplay session, no problem. It's probably one of the easiest things to do. You just launch a game, you play, you talk. Simple. But I think everybody can do that. Yes, they can't do it the way I do it. They can't necessarily talk and chew bubblegum at the same time. A lot of people are horrible at discussing relevant information and ranting and raving and criticizing games while playing at the same time. I think that's one thing that I'm pretty good at. But it's still just, it's too simple, it's too easy, it's not enough to engage, I think, an audience. And so therefore, I kind of want to go back to some kind of really intense discussion-based material. And, that's going to start with, the immersive series, and going back to the Strafing Run, and perhaps creating a few other types of shows, if you will, that really, are thought-provoking. And the Strafing Run used to always be the kind of series that would really test my audience, because, I mean, in some ways you could say it required a thick skin to enjoy, but really a lot of the stuff that I say and do it's really not that bad compared to some of the things that are out there. But it tend to rub certain people the wrong way, especially those that are extremely sensitive or perhaps overly defensive in regards to certain games and titles and things like that. But really, I'm the kind of guy that likes to tell it like it is, and I'm just a man with an opinion, and you might not agree with that opinion, and that's okay, because welcome to Earth, where not everybody has the same opinion, and if everybody did, it'd be kind of boring. But anyway, enough of that. I think many of you understand where the channel is heading and what the Strafing Run is about, so I'm going to talk a little bit about World of Warships before I move on to Metal Gear Solid and some other topics. Again, the footage in the background of these is just kind of something to look at while I talk, so you're not completely bored out of your mind. But anyway, still enjoying World of Warships, but I think for other reasons. I think I'm just enjoying what I have in terms of the ships that I already have. Obviously, I'm up to tier 8, and I'm not needing to go much further. I got to a ship that I really wanted, which was the North Carolina. and I'm very happy to be there, but I also enjoy things that I've gotten before that. Earlier tiers I enjoy quite a bit. Obviously, this is a match in the Marblehead, which was a ship that they gave out at PAX, which I didn't attend, but while we're here, special thanks to Failsafe2000, a Twitch viewer that had an extra code. He attended PAX and threw out some compliments towards me, and also decided to give me an extra code, and I really appreciate that. He didn't have to do that, and of course I asked him if he was sure that he wanted to, and he insisted, so I redeemed the code, and here it is. I'm not going to talk too much about the ship here, but I'll probably live stream it so that we can figure it out a bit more, since it is a bit exclusive. But with that said, I think that's a good lesson to learn in World of Warships. Just like anything in life, enjoy the things that you have. Don't take for granted the things that you have. In this case, the ships that you have. Learn to enjoy the early tiers and the mid tiers, and don't always make it about getting to the final tier. Otherwise, you'll just end up going crazy and maybe even perhaps spend too much money on digital items. But with that said, we are going to transition into some Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain, which some of you may have seen on my new series called Immersive. And I want to talk a little bit about Immersive to maybe further discuss what it is or what my intentions are with that series. Really, I spend a lot of time talking about immersion on the channel, talking about games that really bring me into their worlds with visuals, audio, and gameplay. Every little detail from colors to physics. I spoke a lot about like cloth and material animation in Metal Gear, how you could see on some of the uniforms like the actual fabric moving within the wind, like little pieces of detail like that I notice. I kind of have, well, sort of an art background. I went to art school for a year, and I really started getting in touch with a lot of the things that artists do, and I started paying a lot more attention to those types of things, and I started critiquing heavily based on what I learned in school and some of the things even before that. And I think that's one of the things that I want to focus on within the Immersive series, is just games that really, really, truly do a fantastic job of putting you in these fictional worlds. So it's not like a review show. It's not a first impressions video or anything like that. It's really just about finding games that do a fantastic job of actually immersing you. And so, that's the whole theme behind that, which means that it's probably not a show that's going to be out on a regular basis, because, how many games do I go through that actually immerse me? There aren't a lot of them, so really, I guess it's going to be something that covers the cream of the crop. Anyways, Metal Gear Solid 5, I think, is going to be my game of the year, and perhaps even my game of the next 5 to 10 years. I just don't know if it's possible for anything else to come out to blow me away as much as this game has. And I'm not even super far in, even though this footage is actually kind of old. I'm beyond this point now, but I have been so into this game, so addicted to this game. I've even just been enjoying the side operations, not even just like the main story missions, but even the side ops have me coming back for more. It's just so good. It includes so much variety, and it allows you to play your way and not just be stuck to one means of infiltration. You can, as I said in the Immersive episode, you can run and gun, you can stealth your way through an entire mission, you can take different routes, and think about how you want to remove these opposing forces from a given situation. It's just so much to it. On top of that, it's tactical espionage action with some science fiction twist to it, and it's Metal Gear. It's Big Boss, and it's on PC now, which is the greatest thing ever, because, as I said in Immersive as well, who would have thought that we would get Metal Gear Solid on PC? And I think that should be used to show other developers that big names are bringing their titles to the PC platform. It used to be, back in the day, Japanese developers wouldn't touch the PC. It was always console and portable, game systems. And now look at all these huge Japanese titles that are hitting PC. And even before Metal Gear, you know, there was Metal Gear Rising, which, you know, really didn't count too much for me. But even before that, you've got Street Fighter games on PC. You've got Final Fantasy games making their way on PC. I think the Final Fantasy VII remake is going to come to PC as well. I think. I'm not 100% on that. We've got like the old remakes, like the old original Final Fantasies coming to PC. Resident Evils have been on PC for a long time now as well. It's just great seeing some nice Japanese titles on my platform of choice. And I'm a multi-platform kind of guy. I believe that everybody should have access to the same games. I understand that this is not good for business. I understand why exclusivity exists. I understand why it's not easy to port games over to a variety of systems. It's a lot of money involved, a lot of programming expertise. You have to have a console programmer, you know, different people that know the ins and outs of these different systems to be able to get this game to work on a variety of machines and OS types. So I get why things aren't multi-platform, but the number one reason I think that we have to face is that it does come down to greed and just trying to maintain exclusivity to the point where you're going to get people to come to your platform. For example, you know, PlayStation 4. Why do I own a PlayStation 4? Well, it's a good Blu-ray player, but it's also the place where I go to get my Uncharted fix, and I love Uncharted. It's probably one of my favorite game franchises of all time. So I know I have to play that game. Well, I'm forced to play it on PlayStation 4. Fine, I'll deal with it. And apparently it's not a great idea to try to shoot a light bulb with a tranquilizer gun. Although I don't see why it wouldn't work. It should work, but it doesn't work. Anyway. Beyond that, Nintendo, I think, is the most guilty usually. I think because they continue to exist off of first-party characters and content. I don't think that they would exist without having Mario, Legend of Zelda, Metroid, Star Fox, Kirby, whatever. You know, any of those first-party games. I think Kirby's first party. I don't know. Never really into those games. But I think those titles are what keep Nintendo alive. I don't think any of us would own Nintendos if they didn't have those first-party titles on them. Why do I own a Nintendo Wii U? Well, because the new Mario Kart came out. That was it. Otherwise, I didn't really care too much. And yes, I love a lot of the games that Nintendo comes out with. I love a lot of their developers. They still make games with respect to the old ways. You know, they take their time and they keep improving old systems. And instead of taking away features, they provide us with new ones. They make some great stuff. I just kind of hate being limited to the Nintendo platform because their consoles aren't necessarily that great. You know, the hardware, we're still playing games at 720p mostly, although the Wind Waker remake was 1080 and 60 FPS. You know, a lot of their games like Mario Kart is only 720p 60. Although if you look at Xbox One, a lot of their games, they can't get to run at 1080p 60. Like they're either 1080 30 or they're 720 or some other weird 900 resolution and 60 FPS. Because, well, I don't think that their hardware is all that great. Sadly, so much for next generation and Microsoft. Sony's had a bit more luck, but even then, sometimes you get developers that think that it's a better idea to push or not push 60 and only hover around 30 FPS. That's a different topic because we could complain about devs that think that 30 FPS is cinematic in a whole other video. I just don't like being held back or limited, which is why I'm a PC gamer, because I love having hardware that will jack up the graphics and the sounds and make everything look and run fantastic. And I think the idea of giving developers the freedom to make whatever they want. And I think that's why you should never, you know, port up from the lowest common denominator. I think you should always build with the most powerful platform and then scale everything down from that. I always use the thumbnail analogy in that if I'm going to make a small thumbnail image for something, even a YouTube video, for example, I'm going to take my screenshot or my photo at a larger resolution and then down res that for the thumbnail. I'm not going to take 480 and then pump that up to 1080. I'm going to take 1080 and go down to get a better result. And I feel like when you're porting from console to PC, you're kind of going in the wrong direction. I understand the reasons for it, but I just don't think it makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, these things are being developed on PCs anyway, so why not start, from the direction that makes sense. And again, I'm not going to pretend to sit here and know everything there is to know about programming and art design on, the PC or console platforms to really want to get into this. But I think you see what I'm getting at. I just don't like limiting choice, I think. And I think in an ideal world, minus, greed and the desire to make the most amount of money, we would just be able to get to play these games on a variety of platforms. And I think Metal Gear Solid 5 is a fantastic example of a title that looks great and runs great on a variety of systems. And I'm glad that we all get to enjoy this game on our favorite platforms. And I hope to see more of this. And devs of the future, current devs, if you're watching this, keep doing this. Make your games for as many systems as you possibly can. Again, we understand the time and money that goes into it, but I think there are a lot of gamers out there that are deserving of your great titles, and I think it's part of the reason I've always had a grudge against Bungie. I've had a grudge against them for many years, of course, mostly because of the whole Halo betrayal. For those of you that don't know, Bungie started out as a Mac and PC developer, mostly Macintosh, then segueing into some PC stuff with the Marathon series. Microsoft comes along, hey, we really like Halo, want to make it for the Xbox. Okay, here's a lot of money. Oh, by the way, you have 6 months to finish the game, and you're not going to make it for PC. And yes, it did get a PC port years later, but by then it was maybe a little too late. And now see, obviously that kind of backfired on Bungie. Yes, lots of fame and fortune for them, but what ends up happening is they realize that they don't like working with Microsoft. They distance themselves, and now they're, able to make their game on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. They've got Destiny. Not that it's the greatest game on the planet, but it's not on PC still. They have a chance to break away from being console only, and they have yet to do so. Although there is a rumor that they are hiring some PC programmers or specialists in order to make sure that games are compatible with PC. Maybe there will still be a Destiny on PC. I don't know. Perhaps news has broken about it already and I'm late. I don't know. Again, not that Destiny is the greatest game on the planet, so I shouldn't care that much, but I've always been fascinated by Bungie's art style and storytelling, and so I'm kind of sad to see them not return to the platforms that they grew up on. And I guess it kind of relates to what we're talking about. Is it's one thing if it's all about exclusivity. It's one thing if that's the way to make money. Okay, if you're Nintendo and you can only survive off of first-party characters, or if you're Sony and Uncharted is going to bring people to your system, that's one thing. But again, it's more so the devs that for some reason choose not to when they have the ability to do so. So the ones that have the name for themselves already, the ones that have the money and the expertise to bring titles to a variety of platforms, but still choose not to. Bungie's one example, of course, with Destiny recently. They're not tied down to anybody, but for some reason, we don't see that game on PC, at least not yet. And the other example, of course, which is, I think, maybe even a bigger and better example in some cases, was Rockstar's decision to not bring Red Dead Redemption to PC, which is, every time I bring that up, I get a billion people that say, oh my goodness, yes, why did Red Dead never see the PC? We got LA Noire, which was a good game, but why didn't we get Red Dead, which would have made so much more sense on PC? And it's not like, okay, we have to have it first, but they could have eventually given us that game, and for some reason they didn't. All I can hope for now is, because I don't think we'll ever see it, is that maybe they decide to make a Red Dead 2, and hopefully we get that. I mean, come on, look how popular Grand Theft Auto is on PC. Do you honestly believe that if Rockstar put an open world Western game on PC that nobody would buy it? It's money in the bank. I mean, me and Bombadil, we discussed it, and I got more recently into westerns. When I first started talking to him, he was telling me how much he loves westerns, and I was like, I'm not huge into him for some reason. I never really. And then he started recommending some shows. I started getting more into it, and now I'm like, I need a western. I need a really good western to play on the PC. And then I was always thinking about Red Dead Redemption, like, oh my goodness, that would be just so amazing. Imagine running around with your posse, with your buddies, on horseback and doing good or doing evil or doing whatever. Oh man, I'm bumming myself out just thinking about it again. But yeah, another title that for some reason didn't see the PC. Again, I thought it was strange that we saw LA Noire, but not Red Dead. Maybe they just thought that Noire made more sense. I mean, Noire does make a lot of sense on PC, and it is a fantastic title. But considering how popular GTA is on PC, I'm pretty sure that PC version of Red Dead would have been money in the bank. And hell, if they even did it today, I'm sure that people would still buy it. But anyways, how about a little bit of Mad Max? So this is the other game that I've been playing. I did, I think, one live stream with Mad Max, and I had a lot of fun live streaming it. But I haven't been playing it as much as Metal Gear Solid 5. That game just has me, I think, a bit more than this game does. This is a great game. Will obviously get repetitive over time, but I can safely say that if you've got money to spend on games, this is one to add to your portfolio of titles. It is just extremely immersing, which is why I'm going to eventually have it in a immersive show, because it definitely does do a good job of bringing you into the world of Mad Max. But that and the combat is a lot of fun. Very simplistic kind of Batman-style combat, but it's enjoyable. And you know, I'm not MLG Pro. I like to just get in and have some fun, like everybody else. And this game does a good job at allowing you to just look and feel like a badass with the way the combat works here. And it's just so devastatingly awesome that I can't say enough about it. I never get tired of beating people up in this game. And it's funny because a lot of people you're going to spend like most of your time in a car, but honestly, I just really enjoy the combat. And I didn't play a whole lot of the Batman games, so for me this is kind of new and exciting to be able to fight like this and just and watch things go down the way that they do and hopefully avoid exploding. But yeah, this footage will be kind of just some random footage of me playing one day. I think I spend most of the time looking for spare parts, so you'll have to forgive some of the explore time. But I think what I really want to mention is in today's video we've showcased some Metal Gear and now Mad Max, and it's two games that came out actually on the same day that run very, very well, and on a variety of systems, not just high-end systems. They run well on low-end or medium-range systems as well. Obviously you have graphics options. They're there for a reason. You should tweak your options and not just turn everything up and then complain when the game doesn't run right. It's nice to see some PC games running perfectly, maintaining 60 FPS without a hitch, being smooth as silk. Hot knife through butter with two of these games, which again, funny enough, came out on the same day. We get a lot of games out these days filled with excuses, you know, developers saying, well, you know, we had to make a compromise here, we couldn't do this or that because of blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And it's like, who you fooling, man? Here's two games that look amazing, sound amazing, play very well, and they run perfectly. So what's your problem? All right? Is it a lack of experience? You hired the wrong programmers? What's the deal? I mean, these games are doing it, so why can't you? All right? It's 2015. I think we're out of excuses, devs. I just don't think that it can exist anymore. So I think it usually comes down to rushed products and lack of talent, which obviously a developer is not going to say they lack talent. That's bad for business. You just don't do it, you know. They have more to lose by admitting to incompetence than you or I do, I think. But you can see when we live in a world filled with multi-core CPUs everywhere and multiple GPU setups, that if a game isn't running right, that there's obviously a problem when it comes to programming skill, or maybe it came down to time. A lot of games are rushed out these days. Very few games actually take time to release. Back in the day, you would wait 4 years or more sometimes for a great game, and then you would get it, because I think if we go by kind of the old console game development standard, you had to get it right the first time, because there was no such thing as patches and whatnot. And nowadays, I think some devs are like, we'll just patch it later. We just release it. Don't worry, they'll buy it anyway. We'll just patch it later. And sadly, most of us continue to give these people money. I try to tell people not to, but it still manages to happen. Because games are out, almost every year now, instead of, waiting 4 years for a polished product like we used to. But once in a while, I get surprised, and thankfully having 2 games that come out at the same time between Metal Gear and Mad Max that run amazingly well. And if anything, it makes a lot of other developers just look piss poor. If your game runs like ass in this day and age, then you just suck as a developer. You have bad programmers. They need to go back to school. You're doing it wrong. Learn your game engine. Figure it out. If you're not going to do it right, then don't do it at all. Obviously, this is going to fall on deaf ears, but again, seeing games that look great, like Mad Max and Metal Gear, they're beautiful games. They look fantastic, and they play well. There's just no more room for excuses. It's over. You've been made to look bad, and these are prime examples of how to do great gameplay and graphics and have it run very, very well. But beyond all that, ladies and gentlemen, I think the thing that is often overlooked within these games is the ability to kind of just sit back and admire scenery. And this might segue into an idea I've had that I really don't know how well it would go over on the channel, but I love exploration. I love exploring games. I like looking at things, and I've talked about this already. I just enjoy scenery in real life. Even when I'm traveling, I like looking at things. I like taking photos of interesting environments, vast expanses, and it comes into video games as well. I love just looking at things, running around and sitting on a mountaintop or whatever, and exploring these interesting worlds, whether they be sci-fi, fantasy, or modern, or whatever. I just enjoy looking at these environments so much that I think sometimes I want to share that. And I've considered creating a series dedicated to sharing that experience. And I think it's just going to be one of those things where I have to experiment and see how it goes over. Because often exploring to most people is boring. Something, as I've said, I think maybe even earlier in this video, if something's not exploding or being beat up, then they're not interested, and they may bow out fairly quickly. But for me, half the fun is just looking around and seeing things and enjoying these assets that artists have taken many hours of their lives to create, and appreciating the things that they create within these worlds. It's part of why the immersive series exists, but I think more than that, it would be interesting to have something where I could just take the time to explore and enjoy the beauties of games in a live experience, while talking about why I think these things look amazing. Like if you look here in this playthrough of Mad Max, I was just blown away by how great everything looked. And I kept thinking to myself, wow, this is something that I want to share. And I wish more games would allow me the time to explore without having to think about impending doom. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to bring this episode of the Strafing Run to a close. I really hope that you've enjoyed it, and I hope that you'll look forward to more in a similar fashion. So with that said, once again, thank you so very much for joining me, and I will definitely see you on the next one.